Hi and welcome back to Cheeky Crypto. My name is Nick and today guys we're going to be jumping down into the charts for XRP, taking a look at what's been going on most recently and what I would expect to happen next. As I get into this video, if you find it useful and informative, hit the like button. I really do appreciate that. Helps spread the content, makes it reach more like-minded individuals, which is fantastic for the crypto space. And if you happen to be new to the channel, why not go ahead and subscribe, tap the bell, select all notifications, and in doing so you will not miss another XRP update. And don't forget, join us in Discord, link is in the description down below. It's a fantastic community talking crypto 24/7. It's completely free and I don't think you'll be disappointed by what you find down there, so why not go ahead and check that out today. Okay guys, let's waste no more time. Let's keep this brief, let's keep it on point, and let's give you what you think I think is actually going on here with XRP's price action. So this is XRP paired up with USDT, the biggest trading pair for XRP. We are using Binance as our trading source, so we understand that it's one of the biggest exchanges, etc. But you know, I think there's many other fantastic sources, but just to understand that this is specific to Binance, and sometimes some different exchanges will have different prices. Let's move on though. So here we are tracking a 5-wave structure to the downside, and we have some interesting kind of micro movements going on just down here. Ultimately, I am targeting out about this 1.618 to 1.236 on the fibs. This is basically 26.4 to about 28.2. Now, this is really important, just kind of thinking about the bigger macro structure, and I'll talk about that in a moment, but it does look like a 335 structure, and that 335 should be ending somewhere around here. Now, this is just an estimate based on the current pattern, but this particular micro movements that are going on right now could be a little bit alarming. So we want to just dive down into this in a little bit more detail. So we've got the stochastic RSI just down at the bottom here. This is a good indication of price momentum, and we are overbought on the hourly chart. Now, the 4-hourly chart actually has progression to the upside, but this can quite easily come back down. So it'll be interesting to see whether or not we actually get an expanding flat correction inside our 4th wave before we move on down, but there we'll see what happens here in due course. The 8-hour chart does need to come down, so we are looking for progression to the downside to be had on a slightly larger time frame, and the daily of course has progressed up quite a bit, so that should also come back down. The weekly is in the ground, so that's good, and of course the monthly is oversold, so long term they are looking pretty good and in pretty good positions, but there are some kind of medium time frames, the daily, the 8-hourly time frame for example, that do need to see some kind of movement to the downside. The 4-hourly is about midway through, so could quite easily reverse depending on what Bitcoin does. But let's jump into this and the concerns that I have over this current structure right here. So I am using Elliott wave theory. If you're not familiar, join us in Discord. We've got plenty of resources to kind of help you get a good understanding on what and how to use Elliott wave theory down there. It is relatively complicated, but when you understand it, it actually makes a lot of sense, and you can quite easily follow the markets using Elliott wave theory. But you know, you do have to apply the rules as they are. They are very, very specific. But that being said, join us in Discord if you're looking for a bit more. Now, as I said, this looks like we could potentially be having some kind of odd kind of corrective play going on here. Now, when we have 5-wave structures, okay, bearing in mind we're in a 4th wave right here, potentially dropping down into the 5th wave, there are some rules. Wave 4 is never allowed to cross the lows of wave 1 on the way down. Now here what we've actually got is we've got overlap. Now this overlap only happens when we have well, specifically in a 5-wave structure, can only happen in a diagonal. Okay, so a leading or ending diagonal. Now the fact that we could potentially be in this 5th wave, it could be an ending diagonal that we have here. However, it could also be a leading diagonal that takes us down deeper. So we should be concerned, and we should be, you know, keeping a close eye on a few things to make sure that we're in a really good position. So we want to be cautious at this point. I do think we have some room to the downside. We are looking to kind of bottom this out a little bit, and then, you know, we should see some kind of bounce from there. And we'll talk about the macro side of things in a moment. So really for accumulation, my zone here is still very much valid. It is a typical wave 5 corrective move. Of course, the only alternative here is that we are actually tracking some kind of expanding move, and in which case, if I grab hold of my WXY here, we are actually actually have all of this is a W wave coming down into this low down here as an X wave, and then we come up a little bit higher than W wave. Now in doing this, this should be a 5-wave structure at the end going up. Okay, so we'd end up with 1, 2, maybe 3, 4, and 5 like that. Okay, and then basically from here you then collapse down, giving us this wave 4 higher, and then our target's coming down lower. That's a bit of a stretch, but it is a possible scenario, so I wanted to kind of go through that. But yeah, for now I'm going to leave this as a maybe an ending diagonal, taking us down into our buy zone. Our buy zone being between 26.48 and 28.22. Okay, and all of this micro movement, if I zoom out into, let's go into a 4-hourly chart and bring this down, you can see we have here this 5-wave structure. We've had basically this also leading diagonal arguably here, so we could end with a diagonal this side as well, but basically we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 coming down into that low zone, of which I've labeled up as a C wave. We have a small bounce in the middle here, and we are tracking this down all the way from the top, so it's a big corrective move. Alternatively, we could look at this as also a bit of a 5-wave structure taking us here, and it could be a zigzag pattern, in which case we've got much further to go to the downside. I did say a few weeks ago that 17 cents is a possibility. That is still very much the case. We could come as low as that, but in order for that to work, we'd have to see this pattern slightly differently than we have currently got it. So for example, we'd probably want to look at this slightly differently, this low point over here, and then the moves to the up and the downside there. So I think there's a lot of things to kind of really think about, review, and kind of acknowledge, but for the most part for now I think we should really focus in on 26 to 28 cent, but do be mindful that it is still potentially more room to the downside to be had there. Now let's jump over into our daily time frame, because we have been tracking this macro movement across the years, basically from March 2020. Okay, those lows, we tracked an A wave up higher. We also tracked this move to the downside, which was basically the lawsuit that 𝗕𝗘𝗪𝗓 brought onto Ripple that caused billions of dollars worth of damage to the retail investors. I'm sure you are all familiar. Okay, this basically completed our structure to the upside up in the highs of April. Now it obviously was hindered quite a bit with that significant pullback. We were looking more of an impulsive structure, but that got broken and it just become a corrective structure upwards. Now if we were to treat that as an A wave, we pull back down, we actually started to see an Elliott wave triangle, with the E wave being rather volatile, dragging us down deeper, which is of course one of the cases here for Elliott wave triangles, is basically they're all 3-wave moves. So we have 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, and this last E wave is actually a 3, 3, 5 structure ending with those 5 waves. That's how I currently see it. So once we have this, we should look for an impulsive breakout to the upside. Okay, so that's usually what happens after an Elliott wave triangle. Now Elliott wave triangles only appear in B wave positions or wave 4 positions, and because we don't have an impulsive structure coming up here and we have overlap, this, in my opinion, has to be a B wave structure. So with the B wave structure, then gives us our impulsive structure that comes out afterwards, and we should be looking at some good progression to the upside from there. So we potentially could be coming up into new all-time highs once we actually complete this macro corrective play. Obviously, the lawsuit with SEC and Ripple, that could also have an impact, which is why one of the reasons I'm expecting an impulsive structure to form as FOMO really kicks in, as clarity is given to XRP, as the US exchanges start to relist XRP, we'll start to see more and more demand kick in, and I think that's going to really drive the price much higher. So a little bit of speculation there. We don't truly know how high things are likely to go just yet, but I am expecting them to go pretty high once we actually have clarity of what XRP is going further forward, which I think should come as a result of the lawsuit. Win, lose, draw, settle, doesn't really matter. One of those scenarios should hopefully present us with clarity. Once clarity is gifted to XRP, we will be able to actually utilize it within the realms of the law in the US, and the exchanges will know what they can or cannot do and how to actually interact with the asset, and as a result you'll be able to actually trade freely, knowing what it is: security, exchange token, utility token, whatever. And yeah, once we have that, we should be in a pretty good position. So guys, I'm going to leave the video there. If you have found this useful and informative, hit the like button. I really do appreciate that. If you happen to be new to the channel, why not go ahead and subscribe, tap the bell, select all notifications, and in doing so you will be kept up to date with absolutely everything that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. With all that said, done and out of the way, I hope everyone has a fantastic day, and I'll catch you all in the next one.